I recently just lost my fucking job, so now I have to do something with my life in order to make it meaningful. TBH, I'm unemployed as shit, so I will be keeping track of my life every day by playing a single TFT game each day and posting it to this channel. If you have nothing else to do with your lives like mine, please keep this video playing while being tabbed out because I genuinely am not stepping out this fucking house until I get back my sanity. What better way to get it back than by playing this bullshit-ass game every day, huh? Well, to make it a little better, I'm gonna read off these interesting stories I found online because obviously my fucking life doesn't nearly have as much excitement than the people on fucking Reddit. Anyways, please enjoy this gameplay while I tell you some stories, and let's see how many fucking days it will take for me to get this fresh account to Challenger. Here goes the first story. For context, I live alone in a small one-bedroom apartment. Nothing fancy. I work long shifts, so I'm usually gone from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. For months I've had this weird feeling that someone else has been inside my place. Nothing dramatic, just small changes. Stuff like my kitchen sponge being wet even when I haven't used it. The shower floor slightly damp when I always shower at night. My cereal box moved a little to the left. The toilet seat being up even though I live alone and don't leave it like that. Tiny things, easy to shrug off. I kept telling myself I was imagining it. Then last month something happened that I couldn't just explain away. I came home early with a migraine, like 1 p.m. early, and when I walked into my bedroom, my closet door was open, wide open. I never leave it that way. I actually have this weird habit of double-checking it before leaving. I completely froze. I checked the whole apartment, every corner, behind every door. Nothing. No one. But the feeling wouldn't leave. So I bought a small, cheap, motion-activated camera on Amazon and hid it inside a fake plant on top of my fridge. It points toward the kitchen and hallway, basically the main path someone would take to get in or out. I put my phone on silent and went to work like normal. The next day, around 2 p.m., I got a notification on my phone. Motion detected. My heart dropped so fast I couldn't breathe. I ducked into a bathroom stall at work and opened the footage. First it looked normal. Then a hallway shadow moved. Then, from the left side of the frame, someone stepped into view. A man, wearing a hoodie, calm as if he lived there. He walked straight to my fridge, opened it, took out my orange juice, sniffed it, made a face and put it back. Then he opened my cutlery drawer, took out a fork, looked at it like he was judging me, and put it back in a different spot. He didn't steal anything. He didn't rush. He didn't seem nervous. He was too comfortable. The worst part, he walked down the hallway and went directly to my bedroom, and I never got footage of him coming back out. The camera only covered the kitchen. I left work immediately and called my best friend on the way. I was shaking so badly I almost dropped my keys. When I got home, everything was perfectly normal. No sign of anything disturbed. Except the fork drawer. That one detail made it real. I took the video to my landlord. He watched it 3 times, pale, and said, "I know who that is." He wouldn't explain further, only that it's being handled. I demanded he change my locks immediately. He did it within an hour, which makes me think he already knew there was a problem. Here's the part that still kills me. That night, around 11 p.m., I heard footsteps above my bedroom. There is no apartment above mine. Only a locked storage attic that only the landlord has the key to. I asked him again the next day. He said I must have imagined it and refused to talk about it again. I bought a second camera, and a third. Since the locks were changed, nothing has happened. But sometimes I come home and I swear I can smell someone else's cologne in my hallway. I don't know what scares me more, that someone was living in my apartment, or that the landlord knew about it. Brrrr, shiver me timbers, huh? Well, what scares me even more is how unemployed I am now. Using AI to read people out stories, insane. Well, this next one is gonna make you wanna go unemployed because what the fuck? Alright, here goes the second story. I don't think I'll ever recover from this. My soul has left my body and is currently applying for jobs in another dimension. For context, I, 25M, have been at this new job for about 3 months. My boss, Mark, 50s, very serious, ex-military, is a great guy but incredibly formal and intimidating. I'm still in the desperately want to impress him phase. So we're on this end-of-day Teams call. There are about 10 of us. The call is wrapping up, and my dog, a giant, lovable golden retriever named Bear, starts whining by the door. He needs to go out and he's getting impatient. I'm trying to be professional, so I mute my mic and whisper to him, Okay, hold on. Daddy's almost done. Or at least I thought I was muted. In reality, I had just unmuted myself to say, "Thanks everyone. Have a good evening." The second I finished that sentence, my voice, now in a sickeningly sweet baby talk tone, rang out crystal clear across the entire virtual meeting. Okay, hold on, Daddy's almost done. Dead. Silence. The Brady Bunch grid of faces on my screen froze. I saw one colleague's eyes widen in horror. Another quickly put a hand over her mouth. My boss, Mark, just stared into his camera with an expression of utter, uncomprehending confusion. I'm pretty time-stopped for a solid 10 seconds. My brain short-circuited. In a state of pure, unadulterated panic, the only thing I could think to do was to double down on the professionalism. I cleared my throat, looked directly into the camera, and said in my deepest, most serious voice, "My apologies. That was for the dog." Then, without waiting for a response, I said, "Thank you, Mark. Goodbye," and clicked leave meeting faster than I've ever done anything in my life. My heart is still pounding. I have not reopened Teams. I'm considering changing my name and moving to a remote cabin in the woods. My dog is now happily chewing his toy, completely oblivious that he has just ended my career. Wish me luck for tomorrow. Now what the hell was that fucking story? IDK, but let's move on with another one. Before we do, however, can we just fucking appreciate this gameplay because I did not expect to win my first game on. TBH, I think all these dudes are also beginners because I'm on a fresh account, but that doesn't matter, I'm still a winner. Okay, let's move on now. This next story is genuinely nasty, so good luck. For some reason, I was never taught to wash my ass growing up. It also felt weird to touch my own asshole with my bare hand. So I did not. I think I felt that wiping the ass after shitting was good enough, and it felt Oklahoma to do it because my fingers were shielded by layers of TP. We did not use washcloths in my household. Note, I am now 57. I have had a spotless annular vault for decades now, which is the only way I'm able to relate this tale of utmost cringe without collapsing in on myself. Back when I was 18 and in the US Navy, it seemed perfectly normal to avoid that area when showering. And yes, my Devil's Valley was a hot mess. I would constantly get gooey back there, to where it felt like the molten curds of fecal gelatin would start sliding out of my shorts. My solution to this problem was to ball up toilet paper and insert a kind of sanitary napkin in there after pooping. That's right, rather than simply wash my butt, I came up with what I thought was a genius solution of tucking wads of TP back there to tamp down the gooey factor. And hey, it actually worked. I did this often in high school, but now started doing it almost every time I shat. This weird solution resulted in one of the most embarrassing moments of my entire life. I was wearing loose shorts and wrestling around with one of my fellow sailors as one does. As we wrestled about with several other sailors cheering us on, my napkin plug popped out and fell to the floor. Instantly, everyone froze and went silent. We all looked at it, trying to determine what exactly we had here. It only took about 10 seconds. One side of the compacted tampon-sized wad was covered in brown rectal gel. The other was white, and it has clearly been compressed within a crack of fetid nature. My wrestling buddy looked at me with shock and said with a deadpan expression, "Why do you have an ass tampon?" I had no good answer. Lucky for me, this incident occurred while I was in radar school, so I only had to endure the jokes and nicknames for a few weeks before I transferred to another school. I kept stuffing napkins up there like normal, but made sure to wear snug-fitting jockey shorts at all times. Problem solved. Fast forward to a year later. Yes, folks, this gets even worse. I was stationed in Southeast Asia, a very hot and humid climate. My napkin plugs, made of cheap one-ply shipboard septic-friendly TP, would quickly soak through with sweat and fecal curds, and I would have to replace them often. A hassle, but what else was one to do? Wash? Never occurred to me. I started to feel an itch back there. The itch was mildly uncomfortable at first, but over a couple weeks it became maddening. One night at a dance club in Singapore, all the sweat and movement had me on the brink of insanity with the itching and irritation. I began to feel actual concern for my well-being. While in the club bathroom, I pulled down my pants and looked over my shoulder into the mirror to see what is happening back there. What I saw shook me to my core. My entire ass was covered in red, welted sores, some weeping and scratched open. I looked like some kind of disease victim. Even more concerning was that the closer it got to my anus, the rash got even more dense, red and scary. The source appeared to be my brown place. I had to open things up and take a peek. There was no choice here. Slowly, I parted my ass cheeks to gaze into my very own brown eye of Sauron for the first time in my life. My cheeks were almost stuck together from the broken, leaking sores and scabs. The very center, My poor rectum was like the red eye of a very angry fungal hurricane. Despite my tendency for denial, I immediately thought, I am going to die. It was like something you see in a medical textbook and ask, who lets this happen to themselves? The best description I can think of is severe second-degree burns which had been scratched open and smeared with human feces while leaking pus. The very next morning I went to the doctor on the ship. I did not mention the whole napkin plug system, which I was very much afraid had contributed to my current issue. I just said, I have an infection back there, I think. Now, on a Navy ship there's a real doctor, an officer, but the person who preps you is often just a regular dude like you who's a basic med tech right out of boot camp. I will never forget his reaction when I bent over the exam table and pulled down my underwear. God bless him. He tried to play it off like no big deal, but I heard him stifle a deep gag and he immediately left the room, his face as pale as death. The doctor, a seasoned Navy veteran, finally came into me, on full display, and even he was like, "OH, oh boy," as he gazed upon the magnificence of my rotting, corpse-like rectal zone. He gave me a tub of antifungal ointment and told me, keep the area very clean, which I immediately started doing. And since the ointment had to be placed directly on the whole zone, I got very used to touching my most secret area. And soon I was just like all of you, a normal, ass-washing, ass-touching, non-infected man. If you are a young, or even an old person reading this with issues regarding personal hygiene, please learn from my lesson. Please. That was the final story for tonight. I hope you all enjoyed and actually listened along. Thank you for bearing with me on figuring out my unemployedness for today. I'll update you all how I'm feeling tomorrow. But for now, please enjoy this insane TFT win, which actually is genuinely my first game on this account, and I ended it off on a win. I guess this means this series is going to go great. We'll see what rank I place in the following videos, and hopefully this series doesn't last too long because no way we are going to be playing this game for that long, ha 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 ha. Anyways, see you all tomorrow. Bye!